The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I, of course, am your commander-in-chief, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. So tonight, we want to talk about the linebacker position. We talked about the trenches yesterday defensively and how impactful we think that position is going to be. I think that's a cut and dry group. Barring any kind of unforeseen circumstances, we know the 10 guys that are more likely than not going to crack this roster. I don't think there's a real conversation there. Again, assuming health, and I'm going to assume health. But linebacker position, not so much. There's a massive conversation that I believe has to be had before the start of training camp, which is going to take place tonight. And I think this is going to be a consistent conversation and a theme throughout training camp, all the way to the very bitter end. And I think there are going to be some tough decisions that this team is going to have to make at the linebacker position. And this is the first time we've said this in the Dan Quinn, Adam Peters era. We haven't said they're going to have some tough decisions to make at linebacker before. It's been the position that we've talked about the least on this football team because we haven't had any real talent at the position. We had Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louie, and we were praying and hoping that Jordan McGee would develop into something. But that's been the linebacker group for the last 2 seasons, all right? We've been very slow of foot, unathletic, very smart at the position, and at times very dynamic, especially in 2024. Frankie Louie, second team All-Pro, or third team, I believe. But last year, massive step backwards. We looked our age at the position. It was a sore spot for us, and it's a position that we desperately needed to upgrade. Now, did I expect this to be in the conversation for the most upgraded position on the entire roster? Absolutely not. Did I expect 1 or 2 moves to be made within the margins to help grade this room and the athleticism of the position? Sure. Like the Leo Chanel signing, absolutely A+, chef's kiss. I wasn't expecting them to then double down on the position and add Sonny Styles in the process. And so all of a sudden you go from an extremely slow, unathletic, very underwhelming position that doesn't have a bright future. There is no future. You had an old, aging, future Hall of Fame, I must say, Hall of Famer at the position in Bobby Wagner, but limitations really overshadowed the good things that he did for this team as a leader, a communicator, a tackling machine. He did a lot of really good things, but the lack of athleticism and his inability to move at this point of his career really overshadowed all of the good that Bobby Wagner brought to the table. The inability to get Jordan McGee on the field was a problem. Frankie Louie was not himself last year, probably forced to play out of position because of all of the injuries last year, asked to be more on the line of scrimmage and rush the quarterback, which is not necessarily his strong suit. It's something he can do, but it's not something that he is great at. And this was a group that really struggled last year. And it was a position where we ended up keeping an undrafted rookie in Ale Cajo last year because why not? What's stopping you from doing it? You got nothing at the position. What's stopping you? You drafted Kay Medrano, who we knew wasn't going to help us. 2 years ago, you drafted Dominique Hampton. You cut him last offseason. So you saw the writing on the wall with this position. It needed an overhaul. But did we expect the dramatic overhaul that it got? No. And what that dramatic overhaul has now done, and I'm elated and ecstatic about it, is it's created a logjam at a position that used to be an afterthought. We're going to talk about this position tonight and who the odd man out, or men for that matter, could be at this position, because there are 7 linebackers, as we're going to look at here in a second. But for those of you who didn't see this when it happened live, here's an excerpt from last week's Seawall Wednesday episode, in which Candy Waller, who covers the Commanders for Bowie TV, who comes on the program periodically, big friend of the show, she blessed us with her presence to talk about the close of minicamp and everything that she had seen this spring and where she felt like the team was heading into the summer. And we got to the topic of the linebacker position, and she said something, or rather didn't say something, and it was the silence that was heard round the channel, right? It was the omission of a name that sent off alarms for us. Now, I'm going to clarify something after I play this clip, and I'm going to tell you where I stand on this particular topic. But here's my interaction with Candy Waller last week, talking about this linebacker position as we head into training camp. And you still got all of these, like linebacker was a position you could skim in the past.
It will be one they skim.
This year, it feels like it's tougher because you still got Nick Ballore, you got Jordan McGee, you got Leo Chanel, you got Kane Madrano, and again, we can have a Kane Madrano conversation at some point, because I think he is in danger of potentially not making this roster, and it wouldn't shock me if he didn't. Right? Ale Cajo made the roster last year because why not? Like, we didn't have any talent back at the back end of the roster. Why not? Right? He played well. Hey, give reward him for that, right? But that ain't happening this year. We have talent now, so linebacker is going to be really interesting too.
Yep. I mean, I'm keeping my glasses on because and you've already kind of used your clues on that one. If somebody's going to get trimmed based on how a lot of this works, if it's safety heavy, which currently it appears it will be.
Yeah.
You got Nick Ballore, you got to keep, because that's your special. He's not going anywhere.
No, he's not. They signed him to that extension, and he said he was going to play out that extension.
He's playing out extension, probably retired. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. He's not going anywhere.
And then you have Frankie. Leo, Sonny. That's 4 linebackers on your roster. And that is a huge if you get anybody else. I don't know who you get, but that will more than likely be trimmed.
Wait. But you didn't mention Jordan McGee though.
I know I didn't.
Candy, don't do that to me, Candy.
I'm aware.
Candy, you left out a name that we don't leave out names like that on the roster.
Listen, and here's the thing about it. I love everybody.
Candy, look dead into the camera. I know. I did.
Mm-hmm. But that's not what I want. Let me be clear. When I'm just sharing,
no,
it's never what I want. If I could keep everybody, that's not true. But most I would, right? I most absolutely would. But this is getting tougher.
That's a gem. That is the biggest gem you've dropped tonight, right there. Saying you said a lot without saying anything just now.
Good. It's not good.
Now, before we even get into this list, let me say this. And I said it during the show after this whole exchange took place. Candy is not suggesting that Jordan McGee isn't going to make the roster. What she is simply saying is, from what she has seen this spring, he seems to be a guy that is kind of taking a step backwards. Obviously, Sonny Styles is going to be at the front of the line. Leo Chanel, not far behind. They like what they've seen from Frankie Louvu. And also, what I've been told is that Frankie Louvu is a guy that has been getting a lot of green dot work this spring. So when you talk about guys stepping up, Dan Quinn has mentioned two guys in particular who stepped into a quote-unquote leadership role. Mikey Sainristil was one name. Frankie Louvu was another. And part of that leadership role is communicating, and some of that is being done on the defensive side. So for those of you who think Frankie is somehow going to be this magical cut this summer or even trade bait, I beg to differ. These are three guys that are absolutely locks to make this roster. And I think Jordan McGee is going to make this roster as well. I think he's a lock to make this roster as well. But what Candy is essentially saying is he went from a guy that was at the front of the line, guy that we were excited to see, thinking that with the Bobby Wagner departure, Jordan McGee was going to be moved to the front of the line, and that was going to be a guy that was going to be featured this year. And then obviously getting Leo Chanel wasn't going to change that. It was still going to be Jordan McGee getting tons of snaps, probably going to be your starting Mike, more likely than not, alongside Leo Chanel. And then the drafting of Sonny Styles pretty much nicked any idea of him starting, being this team's Mike linebacker, again, assuming health, and it really reduces his playing time significantly. And that's pretty much what Candy was alluding to. She didn't necessarily say he was going to make the roster. She just said, hey, from where Jordan McGee was last year and what the expectation was going into this season, this upcoming training camp, before all of the offseason moves were made, McGee was at the front of the line, and now that is not the case. And so it's something to take into consideration, but make no mistake about it. Jordan McGee is a part of this linebacking core as of right now. I don't think he's the guy that we target as potentially an odd man out. Okay. But listening to or not hearing Candy say his name in the group of linebackers, pretty startling, to say the least. But again, that's from what Candy saw. That's her vantage point. And I rock with Candy, right? So if she tells me that, it at least, if nothing else, implants in my mind that Jordan McGee is not 1,000% safe, although I'm not moving off of the spot that Jordan McGee is in danger of not making his roster. We talk about needing depth. He is an athletic guy that is continuing to grow at the linebacker position. I have no reason to believe that Jordan McGee isn't going to be a part of the mix. When the pads go on, I've got to believe that Jordan McGee is in the mix. And he gives you quality depth. I'm going to assume that he's going to be able to play high-level special teams, which is what he's going to have to do, being that he's not going to be among the guys that are going to be on the field a ton. I'm not saying that there won't be a package or two that won't have his name on it, but I do think it bears mentioning that Jordan McGee isn't 1,000% safe, right? I believe he's going to be on this roster when it's all said and done. Anyhow, let's get to these linebackers. So you have 7 backers right now, and I think you've got 7 backers for 5 spots. Now, could it be 6? Sure. Absolutely, it could be 6. The number has been 5 here because we haven't had enough talent at the position. Do they deem this position to be talented enough? And again, what it's going to ultimately boil down to is who's playing special teams at a high enough level to force them to make a decision that they don't want to make, right? Honestly, I think it's going to come down to Tyler Owens versus one of these guys on the back end of the roster. And if Tyler Owens is a good enough special teams player, which right now he is, it may be Tyler Owens versus one of these linebackers. And that was one of the conversations Candy and I had right before that linebacker conversation was had. We talked about the safeties on this roster, and we talked about Percy Butler and Tyler Owens in particular. Looking at this group, let's go through the 7 linebackers quickly. Nick Bellore, 37 years old, as you can see, 16th season in the league. This is probably going to be his final season. Remember, last year he signed a 2-year extension, and he said he wanted to finish out his career so that his kid would know that he was actually an NFL football player, and 2 more years would do that. He played last year. This is the final year of that deal, and I think he may call it quits after this. We'll see. He is still an elite special teams player. Hard for me to see him not making this roster, but there is a conversation worth having. We will circle back, put a pin in Nick Bellore. Leo Chanel is one of our prized offseason acquisitions at the linebacker position. He's only 25 years young. I mean, this guy signed a 3-year deal. He'll be 28 when this deal is done. And you could easily re-sign him again, and he'd still be in the prime of his career. He's literally going into the prime of his career. This is one of the best signings that the Commanders made. I think couple that with the Chig Okonkwo signing on the offensive side, and those are your 2 best signings in free agency. No disrespect to anybody else that inked the deal. I really love Nick Cross and what he's going to bring to the table, and some other really solid acquisitions were made. Tim Settle, I think, is the guy that's going to impact this team, and you go down the list of guys that were brought in here. Amik Robertson, cornerback position. However, Leo Chanel at 25 years old is a bargain. It's a steal. We know he's going to be on the field quite a bit this upcoming season, and he is a part of the core of this defense that they're looking to build for the future. Ale Cajo was a crash test dummy last season, making this roster one of the biggest upsets of the roster last year. Finished up the preseason extremely strong, and it led to him making the roster in a massive upset. I think that he is one of the first to go when you start talking about this position as a whole. They did not spend any draft capital on him. And while he plays a mean special teams, I mean, he goes in with reckless abandon, throws his body around, crashes into anything that moves. He knocked himself out twice last year. I feel like he's a dangerous guy. They probably love the way that he plays. I'm scared for him and his future, because you can't keep taking, those Mike Tyson blows to the face. Shout out to those of you who know. If you know, you know. But I'll tell you this much. With the way he plays on special teams, you can't discount him. But I just think last year was an aberration because of the position and the state of the position. That's not the case this year, and I just don't see a guy like Ale Cajo making the roster. Now, he'll absolutely be on the practice squad. Absolutely. There's a practice squad spot with his name on it, but I just can't see him cracking this roster. Frankie Louvu, final year of the 3-year, $36 million deal. I believe it was 36, 31. I think it was 31 million to get to 36 million. We'll just call it 3 years, $36 million he signed. Final year of that deal. Year 1, outstanding, all pro. Last year, massive step backwards, very disappointed. I think he's going to be back to what we saw in his first year here. And he's going to be really interesting. Like, I want to see how they devise ways to get him on the field and get him snaps, because he's going to play, and he's going to play a ton. But I want to see how they make it happen. Jordan McGee, interesting conversation. You just heard the excerpt from last week's episode of Seawall Wednesdays with Candy Waller, and you heard the exchange where she omitted Jordan McGee from the conversation, not because she doesn't think he's going to make the roster, but because she didn't really love what she saw in terms of where he was in the pecking order during the spring. Again, that could all change. And as I said during the show, there's a ton of time between now and the start of the season when this roster is trimmed down for Jordan McGee to make a massive statement that he belongs here. I don't think McGee is going anywhere. Let me just make that abundantly clear. My position is and always has been that Jordan McGee is a part of the core of this linebacker group, even if it's in more of a support role now as a special teams player. I mean, let's face it, last year he wasn't getting on the field anyway, right? So it didn't really change. Not like Jordan McGee played 670 snaps last year, and all of a sudden that number is going to be cut in half or something of that ilk. He wasn't playing last year. We were begging for him to get on the field last year. We just assumed that because Bobby Wagner was no longer going to be here, that it was Jordan McGee time, and all of a sudden, and you could look at it one of two ways. You could just say, hey, the opportunity presented itself for this team to upgrade the position that desperately needed a facelift, and they took advantage of it. Leo Chanel was available. Sonny Styles was available. They didn't know if either of those guys would be available. Both became available. They signed both of those players, or signed one, drafted the other. You could also look at it from the other end of the spectrum and say, just like at the tight end position with Ben Sinnott, they identified a young player that they don't believe in, not enough to turn the reins over to that player. And so they went out and got a guy that they believe can handle the job, right? That they believe is prepared for the mission at hand. You could look at it that way, because they could have stopped at Leo Chanel and went and got a safety, right? And went and got a safety. But they said, no, we're going to get Sonny Styles on top of already having gotten Leo Chanel. And we're going to overhaul this linebacker position completely, which pushes a guy like Jordan McGee to the back of the line, right? I still think Jordan McGee is probably your first primary backup at the linebacker position. And I think he's going to see the field, not just on special teams, but in some capacity defensively. They're going to find a way to get him on the field. He's too athletic. He's too talented to just cast aside, right? Even if he only provides you with depth, which you need, by the way. I think Jordan McGee is a part of this equation. Now, this is the guy that I believe is one of the X factors of this summer, and that's Kane Medrano. They drafted him in the 6th round last year, and guess what? 6th round picks don't have to make your football team. Once upon a time, 6th round picks didn't make your football team. But we're still in that rebuilding phase where we're trying to get this roster to where it needs to be. And so every draft pick, especially when you had a draft class last year that only had 5 picks, and then a draft class this year that only had 6 picks, your draft picks are going to make the roster more likely than not. With that said, we are now 1 year removed from when Kane Medrano was drafted, and this roster is drastically different. It's way more talented than it was when he was drafted a season ago. Again, hence Ale Cajo making the roster as an undrafted rookie last year. That is not going to happen this year. I don't know if there's going to be a single undrafted for the first time in the Dan Quinn, Adam Peters era. I don't think there's going to be a single undrafted that makes this football team. I could be wrong. Fred Davis at the cornerback position is a name to watch as an undrafted that could potentially crack this roster. But, you know, we had multiple undrafteds make it year one. Tyler Owens, the tight end Colson Yankoff both made it as undrafted rookies. Last year, Ale Cajo made it as an undrafted rookie. This year, I don't think you're going to have one single undrafted make this roster. Again, look out for Fred Davis II at the cornerback position. But outside of that, I don't think you're going to have any undrafteds crack this roster. And it just speaks to where we are from a talent standpoint. And I think Kane Medrano is a guy that is on the bubble. He is fighting for his life here this year in this group that is extremely competitive. And I really think if the conversation is between 2 linebackers in this room battling it out for one spot, then I think you turn your attention to let's see how old Kane Medrano is. A 25-year-old Kane Medrano versus a 37-year-old Nick Bellore, right? That's where I think you turn your attention to. And you say, Kane Medrano, can you give us what Nick Bellore is giving us on special teams to beat him out? Because he's got 1 year left. If I'm the Commanders and Nick Bellore has not lost a step, he still looks like the special teams maven and demon that he's been his entire career. I'm just going to say, I'm going to take my chance with cutting Kane Medrano and him clearing waivers, because who wants Kane Medrano, right? Nobody wanted Kane Medrano. Yeah, he's an athlete, but what has he shown for anyone to decide, hey, we're going to pluck him off of your practice squad and take him under our wing and give him an opportunity? If he doesn't show anything this preseason that suggests that he needs to be on this roster, you can cut him. as a 6th-round pick. It's not going to kill you. It doesn't hurt you. It's a 6th-round pick, right? You put him on the practice squad, and then next year when Nick Bellore retires, there's a spot for Kane Medrano to make this roster, assuming that someone else doesn't get drafted or signed in free agency and swoop in and push him completely off the roster altogether. But I think that's where we are with Kane Medrano right now. A lot of people think his speed and athleticism is tailor-made for this defense, while the versatility, and Candy talked about this, and I don't know if it was in that clip that I just played, but Candy said that Kane Medrano's ability to play safety, remember, before he was a linebacker, he has like safety qualities. He was on the offensive side of the football, then he moved to the defensive side, and he's got that safety kind of build. He's got safety movement skills, but he plays the linebacker position. They like his versatility, and so that may help him in making this roster, because the more you can do, the more viable you are an option to be on this football team. We'll see if his versatility, athleticism, and upside are enough to beat out a proven veteran in Nick Bellore, who we know exactly what we're getting from him. He won't play very many defensive snaps, if any, unless there's a complete blowout and he's getting reps late in the game. Nick Bellore is strictly here for special teams purposes, and he's damn good at it. The question is, can Kane Medrano close the gap enough to where they have to make a decision between a 37-year-old Nick Bellore, who is probably in his final year of his NFL career, or a 25-year-old second-year linebacker that they spent a 6th-round pick on out of UCLA? That's going to be the question. We'll see what happens there. And then, of course, Sonny Styles, 21 years young, dynamic, 1st-round pick that we expect to be the Jaden Daniels of this defense moving forward, the guy that we're going to hang our hat on defensively. Looking forward to seeing him run around with pads on and what he can truly be in this defensive scheme. So when you look at this group of 7, I think the number is 5. And I think you have 3 players vying for 2 spots. We know 3 guys that are absolutely on this roster: Sonny Styles, Frankie Louvu, Leo Chanel, right? I think you could easily say 4. I'm going to add Jordan McGee in. So 4. I think you know that 4 guys are on this roster: Sonny Styles, Jordan McGee, Frankie Louvu, and Leo Chanel. I think you got 3 guys vying for 1 spot, possibly 2 guys making this team. So 3 guys vying for 2 spots. Can you afford to keep 6 linebackers is the $1 million question, right? Again, if we played the 25 game, right? Because theoretically speaking, ideally, in a perfect world, and this is what they did last year, just going off of what they did last year, they went 25, 25, 3, right? That's the ideal breakdown. That's what you would prefer. It doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes it's 26, 24, 3. You generally don't want to go too heavy on one side of the ball, so you don't see 27, 23, 3 very often, but you will get a 26, 24, 3 sometimes. But generally, you want 25, 25, 3. And if you're going to go with that premise of 25, 25, 3, usually the breakdown on defense, it's a very simple one. 10 on the back end, 10 in the trenches, 5 in the middle at the linebacker position. It's not hard. It's easy math. It's usually 5 corners, 5 safeties, gives you 10 DBs. It's usually 4 defensive tackles, 6 edge rushers, gives you 10 on the defensive line. And then it's usually 5 linebackers. Now, again, you can play around with those numbers, manipulate them. Because we really don't have 10 on the back end, if we're being honest. We really don't have 10 on the back end. You got 4 corners right now as it stands. Again, we'll see if there's a 5th corner in the house. We've talked about that already. And then you got 6 safeties. You don't have to have 6 safeties, but you got 6 safeties right now, right? Will Harris, Nick Cross, Jartavis Martin, Percy Butler, Jeremy Reeves, Tyler Owens. You don't have to have 6. You can trim off some fat there, but they love those 3 guys that play special teams in Jeremy Reeves, Percy Butler, and Tyler Owens. So the likelihood is they're going to keep their 6 safeties. That's going to give you 10 on the back end. We know it's 10 on the defensive line, and they're not cutting any of those guys. So If you're going 25, 25, 3, it's just 5 spots at linebacker. Again, they could trim off fat somewhere else. They could go 26, 24, 26 defensive players, 24 offensive players. Maybe there's not as much talent on the offensive side as there is defensively. Again, we'll get to that point later on in the summer when they have to make that decision. We'll see how guys play. And obviously, hopefully, injuries don't play a part in their decision-making process. But obviously, those things come into play as well, right? How healthy are you at certain positions? But just going off of the numbers and what we anticipate them being, or what I anticipate them being, I think there's 5 spots here, and you got 7 players, and 4 of them are already spoken for. So you've got 3 players for 1 spot. And right now, if I had to take a stab at it going into training camp, I'd say Nick Bellore has the leg up just because of what he means to that special teams unit. And they're not going to let their special teams unit suffer. They're not going to make a decision at the expense of the special teams just because they drafted Kane Medrano in the 6th round. They're not doing that. If they don't think Kane Medrano can help them in the way that Nick Bellore can, they're not cutting Nick Bellore. And right now, I've told you this already. Until Nick Bellore isn't, he is. And until Nick Bellore decides he doesn't want to play football anymore, he's on his roster. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Until that changes, Nick Bellore is on this team, so that's 5 linebackers. Right now, Ale Cajo is completely out of the mix in terms of making the roster. His goal is to make the practice squad. And I feel like because he was here last year, they know him, and he plays extremely hard on special teams. If they need to pull up a guy to play special teams, let's say something happens to Nick Bellore, and they need to go into their special teams bag on the practice squad, they know they can pull up Ale Cajo, and he's going to run down there, and he's going to run into somebody. Either the guy with the ball or somebody trying to block for him, but he's going to blow some shit up. He may knock himself out in the process, but he's going to hit somebody really hard. So he's going to be around. The question is Kane Medrano. We've seen them cut a late round linebacker draft pick before because he wasn't cutting it. Could Kane Medrano be in that same vein? And remember, similar situation. They took a former college safety, tried to convert him to linebacker. It didn't work. You're taking a former offensive player. Again, Kane Medrano did have defensive reps in college, as a linebacker, but he's still learning the position. Will they come to the realization that this ain't for him? He's not cutting it. And move on. Who's to say? They drafted traits with Medrano, and if those traits don't start to show themselves in this new scheme, he may become a liability and a casualty. So I'm interested to see what comes of this linebacker room, because this is one of the most improved groups. I think edge rusher, I think we've said that already. Edge rusher, most improved group of this entire, roster. And I think linebacker is a very, very close second. And because of the upgrades that have been made, guys that were here and entrenched in this roster are now fighting for the back end of this roster. And so Kane Medrano, no longer a brand new toy that's shiny and, has all of this luster to him. Now he's very capable of being cut. He is completely in the crosshairs. And Ale Cajo, surprise roster addition last year, right? A surprise guy to make the roster last year. I think the roster's too talented for that to happen this year. That was a circumstance of where we were. That was a product of we just weren't talented. That should have been a big sign to us last year that, man, we're not that talented. Because why is this guy making the roster? We didn't have any more. We didn't have anything to do with that spot. Hey, just give it to Ale. He finished up the preseason strong. Let him have it. That shit ain't jumping off this year. That ain't jumping off this year. So I digress. Let's get to a quick word from our sponsor. We'll come back on the other side and get to your comments and then get you out of here. I know the NBA draft is about to start here shortly, so I want to get you out of here in a timely manner. So big shout out to PrizePicks for sponsoring this stream. If you are not a member of the PrizePicks family, here's an opportunity for you to become one. Link is in the description of this video. Yesterday, if you were not with us, I gave out my first WNBA. First of all, that was my first set of picks that I've given out to you, a first lineup that I've created with you in quite some time. And would you look at that? I gave out a winner. Winner, chicken dinner. All right. We got it done yesterday. First time I gave out a WNBA lineup here. And I threw together a quick little 6-pick power play. Netted us $55. So if you following me on PrizePicks, and you can do that very easily, as you see at the top of the screen at LouieTeeNetwork, you can tail my picks. You can take the ones you like and slide them into your lineup, alter it slightly if you need to, but we came away with a winner yesterday, and I'm looking to do it again today. Use the promo code HMA if you are a first-time user, which will give you an opportunity to play 5 and get $50 instantly in lineup bonuses. So let's go in and see if we can't throw together. We got one WNBA game on the docket. And what did I tell y'all about World Cup? Just real quick on the World Cup. What did I tell y'all about the World Cup? Stars are going to be stars. Ronaldo went berserk today, 2 goals. Stars are going to be stars. And I said, if you're going to bet, if you're going to put together a lineup and you're going to do World Cup, find the stars and bet on them. Put them in the lineup. Generally, they don't disappoint. Generally, on this world stage, they're going to show up and they're going to show out. All right. So let's go ahead in here. We got one game on the WNBA docket tonight. It's a good one, too. Las Vegas Aces, the 2-time defending champions, taking on the New York Liberty, 2 really good teams, opposite conferences. Let's put together a quick little ticket. So first thing I want to do is go to the best player in the entire league, and that would be Aja Wilson. We're going to just go points because she scores. That's her thing. She scores. I don't like her for – she could easily score 28 points tonight. I don't like her for 30. This is actually a good Liberty basketball team. So I don't like her going crazy tonight. But I do like her for 23.5. So we're going to go there. That's going to start us off on this one. I like her teammate, Jackie Young. She scores the basketball. So we're going to go 14.5 for Jackie. Throw her on the ticket. Breanna Stewart, one of the best players the Liberty have. We're just going to ask her for 15. We're not going to ask her for much. As a matter of fact, we'll go PRA for her. And I like this 24.5. So we'll ask her for 24.5. We'll go back. We'll go to assists. I like Chelsea Gray, guard for the Aces. I'm going to ask her for 6 assists. Nothing too hard for her. She's very capable. All right, we'll go back to points. I like Jonquel Jones. She's also a prolific 3-point shooter as a big. So if you wanted to go 3-pointers here, be my guest. I'm just going to ask her for some points. 12 points tonight. Not going to ask her for much. And finish this thing off, let's ask Marine for 1-3. We're not trying to kill the game tonight. Let's ask Marine for 1-3. All right. So there you have it. We got 6 here. We turned it over to a power play. That'll get us 47.50. We ain't trying to kill the game. Just like we nickel and dimed them last night, we can do it again tonight. All right. We're going to submit that lineup. And we in like Flynn. All right. Let's go get them again, man. And if we hit that one tonight, guess what? We up 100. We up 100. All right. You can follow me on PrizePicks at LouieTeeNetwork. And once again, we in the win, man. We ain't trying to hurt nobody, man. We just trying to win. The goal is to leave with more than you came in with, right? All right. While we at it, toast to the season. Commanders Kings event of the year. This is our favorite time of the year because you have no blemishes in the right-hand column. Everything's all good. Vibes are extremely high. And we have every reason to be hyped this year because the team has shown us that they mean business this year. So I am very excited about this opportunity. Want you guys to come out, join us, man. I had a chance to go to Hook Hall today for the first time and actually lay eyes on the venue. I've had others. Big shout out to Hilltop RVA, who is our partner in putting this thing together. They've done a phenomenal job. Shout out to my guy Twan during this entire process of helping put this thing together. He was the one that had laid eyes on this venue and was like, yo, this is the one. I went today and confirmed that this is going to be lit. I'm going to have a post for you guys a little bit later on in the week showing you just how much fun this is going to be because of the amount of space and opportunity that presents itself in this establishment. Come out and join us. Hook Hall, August the 23rd at 4 p.m. We're going to have our signature drink contest, which is going to be a ton of fun. I've got the TNTF. That's going to be the best drink of all 4 of them. And you guys are going to vote on the best drink of the event. And we're going to see who wins. We're going to have our toast, as we always do. We're going to have 5 different segments, 4 different quarters, and we're going to go into overtime because we love you guys so much. We got a burgundy and gold raffle where we're going to be giving away some great prizes. We're going to have a little trivia section there. Test your knowledge. See what you really about. All right. You say you love this team. How much? How much you love this team? We're going to find out. All right. We're going to have so many different things that you guys can get into. We're going to have a fan photo zone and so much more. Vendors are going to be there. So you're going to have all kinds of things. We got some surprises for you guys. Going to be a lot of fun. Get your tickets now. They're on sale. $60 gets you in the building. Early bird special right now through July 31st. Once we hit the month of August, the tickets go to $75. So get your tickets now. Link is in the description of this video. I'm also going to pin that link to the comment section as I always do. So you have access to where you can purchase the tickets. If you want to be a vendor, if you want to donate to this event, you want to have your name shouted out in this event, that is all possible. The link that I have, there is a space for you to do all of that if you want to be a part of this show. Remember, this year we are not live streaming this simultaneously. This is not a simulcast. You have to be in the building to be a part of this show. So do not delay. Get your ticket today and be a part of the Commanders Kings annual toast to the season. It is going to be so much fun. Bart Scott can't wait. All right. So let's get to the comment section and see what you guys have to say, and I'll get you out of here. All right. Wrath of God. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Wrath of God, writes, so glad dogs want to come here. So it's a far cry from where we were just 5 years ago. Hell, 3 years ago, right? 4 years ago. Far cry from the 2023 season, right? We're not that far removed from being in the abyss, in the depths of hell. We are not that far removed. It feels like we've been free for so long, but it hasn't been that long at all. He says, trying to get used to that. I get it. It's it's an unfamiliar feeling, and it is definitely uncharted territory for us. But as I've been trying to get you guys to do, and last year did not help my case here, but it's not going to stop me from encouraging you guys to shed yourself of that PTSD that you've been holding on to. It's tough when you have seasons like last year, I will admit. Like that, all of the goodwill that was done in 2024, they systematically undid that last year. And for all of the people that were ready to say, I'm free, and they were ready to go dancing in the streets, the Commanders season last year sent them back in the house to lock the door, close the blinds and the curtains, turn off all the lights, go hide in the closet, and not come out, right? And I hate it because we deserve better. And I want fans to feel okay with being bullish about their favorite team. But it's hard to do that. It's hard to get used to this new norm. And that's what I've been trying to convey to you. This is the new norm. We're a good football organization now. What we want to now become is a consistent winning football team. We are a well-run organization now. And that's hard for some people to wrap their heads around because of the dysfunction that has maintained itself here for well over 2 decades. And so it's hard for people to realize that we have an actual real owner that takes care of his players and employees. That's why the report card now says all A's and B's. We have a real general manager that has an eye for talent, that is going to build this roster into a bully, brick by brick, piece by piece, and he's doing that as we speak. He's coming off of his best offseason to date. Hence, we have the best roster that we've had here in quite some time. We have a legitimate head coach who's gone to a Super Bowl before, and you can make fun of him for blowing that lead. You can talk about what he didn't do here defensively the first 2 years. You can say everything. He's a hell of a leader. He has a vision for what he wants this to be. Can he get that vision to come to fruition? I think he hired the right guys to help make that happen. And we actually have a competent roster now. And we got the quarterback. It's different. It feels different. Wait for it. Because it is different. And I hope you guys allow yourselves to feel that. It's hard when the team goes 5-12 and your season's over by October. I get it. Injuries can do that to you. A lack of roster construction can do that to you. We lied to ourselves. I lied to myself. The team lied to themselves. They thought that they were closer to winning something than they truly were. I fell for it hook, line, and sinker too. Because we did the thing that we said we didn't want to do, which was rely on 5. 5 got us. We don't need to upgrade the talent on this roster. We did it with a lot less in 24. 5 got us. That's the bullshit that got last year. Because what happens when you don't got 5? And the roster's old and decrepit, and guys are dropping like flies. What happens then? Well, they rectified that problem this year. If you don't have 5, you don't have a shot. There you go. That's just about any team in the league with the type of quarterback that we have. You take Joe Burrow off the Bengals, you take Josh Allen off the Bills, you take Lamar Jackson off the Ravens, and those teams are obsolete. Like that's not saying much, right? That goes for just about half of the league starting quarterbacks. Some teams are ass at starting quarterback. Like if you take Jacoby Brissett off the Cardinals, they're still ass. They were ass with Jacoby Brissett. They're even more ass without him, but they weren't going to do anything with him anyway. So that doesn't make a difference, right? There's certain teams that doesn't really matter who's playing quarterback. Cleveland Browns doesn't feel like it really matters who's playing quarterback, right? Doesn't feel like they're going to be very good. We're not one of those teams. So I want you guys to get used to the fact that we're a well-run organization now. The next step after cleaning up the organization and establishing who you are, what you stand for, and what this program is all about, now it's about putting a consistent winner on the field. See if they can do that. Super excited because great teams cut good players. I won't call us great, but well-run organizations cut football players that actually belong in the league and that will play somewhere else. We didn't do that last year. That's why Ale Cajo made it. And again, not to be shitting on Ale Cajo, but that's why Ale Cajo made the roster last year. Because we were cutting guys like KJ Osborne and Michael Gallup last year. That's why. And because we were cutting guys like that, it led to us having a roster that was underwhelming and had zero to little depth. Little to no depth. And when the injuries started to take effect, you saw what happened to this roster very quickly. We were the team waiting for great teams to cut good players so we could sign old, meh dudes. That's no longer us. We're out of that business now. And it feels good. It feels good. Yeah. It feels good. It feels real good. Sure feels good to me. Feels real good that we not waiting for somebody else's trash. Ain't nothing wrong with shopping at somebody's yard sale. Ain't nothing wrong. We're shopping at somebody's yard sale. Ain't nothing wrong with driving through the neighborhood and seeing if somebody put something on the trash that might be your treasure. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But that ain't the way we live no more, right? We were driving hours upon hours through neighborhoods looking to see if somebody was putting out stuff that we could pick up and throw in the back of the Sanford and Son truck. We ain't doing that no more. Could there be a corner out there at the end of this process that we like, hey, that's better than anything else we got here at CB5 or even CB4? If Akello Witherspoon's not playing his best, don't need to cut him, but you might be able to go get a guy that can maybe exceed him on the depth chart. Whatever the case may be. Could we find a corner at the end of this process? Maybe not. Wouldn't be opposed to it. But we ain't hurting no more. We ain't out here begging for somebody. Baby, I'm begging, baby, I'm begging. We ain't out here begging no more for somebody to cut a Noah Brown so we can pounce. Those days are over. Wrath of God, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Wrath of God. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, forgot as always, wishing you and the fam the best, Lou. Likewise. And I appreciate that. And I appreciate you. And wishing you and your family the absolute best. On June the 23rd, I hope all is going well for you in Alaska. I'm still fascinated by that, by the way. But likewise, my guy, likewise. Anyway, I digress. Protect 428, my guy. Tones, what up? Says, yo, Lou. What up, Tones? How you been, bro? Maintaining, bro. What about you? Hopefully you and the fam are doing well. He says, linebacker, best room on the team. I think the edge rushers are. I'm so blown away by the amount of talent. Now, again, do we have an elite edge rusher? No, I don't think so. Do we have an elite linebacker? I think there's a greater chance that an elite linebacker exists than an elite edge rusher. You could possibly have two elite linebackers when it's all said and done between Leo Chanel and Sonny Styles. So you could make the case that the linebacker room is the best on the team. I'm going to fall back and say off of the depth at the edge rushing position, and there is talent there, and we don't know if, again, Odafe is going into the prime of his career, right? Kaylavon Chason is going into the prime of his career. These are guys that are just figuring it out, and we could be the beneficiaries of that. And Odafe could be, bubbling beneath the surface, and this could be the year that it finally he goes off for 12 and a half sacks, or Kaylavon Chason finally hits double digits, right? Josh Josephs, we have no idea what he could end up turning into. He could turn into a dynamic, situational pass rusher, or just an overall really good edge rusher, right? I think what we're going to find is that Dorrance Armstrong isn't going to be what we need him to be. That's going to be a little disappointing because he's coming off of major surgery. He's almost 30 years old. I think that we've seen the best of Dorrance here more likely than not, and that sucks, but it's the reality of the situation. But he still provides you with depth as long as he's healthy, right? He's going to be out on the field. He's going to set a physical edge. I don't know if you're going to get the dynamic guy that we saw last year, one of the leaders in sacks when he went down for the season. I don't think that guy's going to be back in his return to the lineup. But you still got guys like Charles Omenihu who give you depth. Dietrich Wise. It's an extremely deep group. You're going to end up cutting Drake Jackson and Javonte John Baptiste. And those are, I think those guys can actually play in the NFL. I know Javonte John Baptiste can. And Drake Jackson was a former second-round pick. And I think he's going to be a lot healthier this year than he was last year. Last year was more about him shaking the cobwebs off. He hadn't played football in almost 2 years. And so it was all about trusting everything, making sure that, he wasn't going to re-aggravate anything. He wasn't going to hurt himself, and just getting reacclimated to contact and being out on the field. And now he's cleared that hurdle. He's going to be more dynamic, I believe, probably look more like the second-round pick that the 49ers drafted out of USC. But where is he going to be? How does he crack this roster? It's such a deep group. And that's why I think edge rusher is the deepest and the best group on the team. But after this season, we may be singing a different tone, and linebacker may be the best position on this team. And it would not shock me in the least. Wouldn't shock me. If Sonny Styles and Leo Chanel are what I think they are, linebacker will be the best group. Unless Odafe goes nuts this year. Because even if Kaylavon Chason goes off, there's no guarantee he's here next year, right? Odafe goes off, we signed him to a 4-year deal. He's not going anywhere, right? So we'll see. I'm going to roll with the edge rushers, but linebacker's not that far behind. Not that far behind. Anyway, I digress. Great question. That's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. Oh, got another super chat. D'Angelo, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. D'Angelo Dreger writes, Lou, what up, D'Angelo? Hope you and the fam are well. Likewise, my guy. We in the building for the Kings event. Yeah. Let me a round of applause for D'Angelo. You already got your tickets, I'm assuming. We just gonna go ahead and give you a round of applause, man. Love to hear it, man. Me and the Kings truly appreciate you for being in the building. And we can't wait to see you guys, all of y'all, man. Like I got so excited today going and seeing the space in person and seeing just how much space we have to work with. Last year was a blast, but that was like entry level. That was our first time. There was so much, that we didn't know. And this year, there's so many things that we go into the process knowing. And one of the things we knew is we wanted more space. We accomplished that, right? We had to upgrade the sound system. Mission accomplished, check, right? There were people inside the event that couldn't hear us well. So we've taken care of that. And I just think overall, the aesthetics, everything is just going to be a better experience. And you guys are going to have fun. And I'm just so glad to hear that you're going to be a part of that event. It's going to be so much fun. It's going to be great. Just trying to figure out how to get my girlfriends there. I think my biggest thing that I'm worried about, and I'm not concerned, like, because we've given you options, the Metro, there's different options where how you can park, because we in the city, right? And it doesn't matter what city you're in. If you're in downtown in a major city, there's nowhere to park, right? And so that's the one thing. But the last thing you should be worried about is getting your girlfriends there. If they really rock with you, they'll be in the building, right? Now, are you paying for them? That's the question, right? We'll see. She just decided she loves Hurts and those dirty ass birds out of nowhere. Wow. Well, you know what? We had someone last year who came and his girlfriend or wife was a Cowboys fan, and we roasted the shit out of her. And it was all in good fun. You know, it wasn't malicious, but she came, she had a Cowboys jersey on. She did not give a shit. She came into the Lions den and she stood 10 toes down, but we fried her and we tested her knowledge, because you can't come into our event with a Cowboys jersey on with your chest out. Like, I wish I would. And so he's like, name 3 Cowboy players, and she couldn't do it. She could. We had to take her card from her. Give me that Cowboys card. You don't know what to do with that. You a Commanders fan for real. What you doing, man? So bring her along. Get her to come out. And if she really about that life, let her wear a Hurts jersey. So we can pick her out and give her a hard time. But she want to hide. She can hide, right? She can hide. But you got some explaining to do, D'Angelo. You got to convert her. When I met my wife, she was a Cowboys fan. I had to convert her, man. Jerry made it easy on me, though. He made it very easy for me to convert her. But you got some work to do, because you got a month to convert her to a Commanders fan. Buy her a Commanders jersey. Get her a 5, man. Get her a Hellraiser 5. Get her out of that nasty Hurts. Get her a 5, man. Says love, man. All love, bro. All love. Looking forward to seeing you at the event, and hopefully your girlfriend is there with you, man. Anyway, I digress. That is going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on this installment of the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. Look forward to chopping it up with you guys next time. Maybe I'll have some friends, right? Maybe the Kings will be ready to go tomorrow. Maybe not. Either it'll be tomorrow or Thursday. That is for certain. If you're a Wizards fan, enjoy the NBA draft. Think you're going to go ahead and get AJ Debansa. I was talking to my buddy. One last thing and we'll get out of here. Talking to my buddy about the NBA draft. And I said, it's just like the NFL draft, this one in particular, right? There are certain drafts in the NBA where you don't know. And that could be the same thing for the NFL. But I said, just like the NFL draft this past year, I said, look, at the beginning of the process, they gave us the template, the blueprint of what was going to happen. And then you got all this time between then when the process first starts and they tell you, this is who's going first, this is who's going second, this is who's going third. And then you get all this time for conversations to change the narrative. And I said, once all of that noise quiets down and you get right back to the end of the process, it's going to go back to where it was in its default settings, right? We knew who was going to be 1 and 2, and that's when the draft started for the NFL. I think we know who 1, 2, and 3 are, right? All this noise about, Darren Peterson not working out for any team but the Wizards. And then we hear, oh, well, he talked to Utah too, right? Man, it was a great conversation because he's going to. Devansa is going 1, right? Peterson is going 2. And Boozer is going 3. And Caleb Wilson is going 4 to the Bulls. And then the draft starts. That's what it feels like. I know the Bulls just traded for the big from the Nets, but he's a 5. And you play Caleb Wilson at the 4. And so it just feels like it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the draft starts at 5. And I think Keegan Wagler probably goes 5th. And then I'll be honest with you, my guy Darius Acuff probably goes 6th to the Kings, and then the draft really begins. But I could be wrong about that. But I think the first 4 picks are going to go chalk. But, again, we'll see. Anyway, I digress. Wrath of God. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Wrath of God, writes, we talked about sacks by committee last year, but this year is on a whole extra level. Yeah, no, we could actually be among the league leaders in sacks this year. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if the league leader in sacks has 62 and we have 55 sacks on the season and we're 3rd in the league in sacks. I wouldn't be shocked by that. I wouldn't be shocked because we have so many different guys that can contribute to that number. We may not have one guy with 13 and a half sacks, but we might have 6 players between 8.5 and 6 sacks. We might have 8 players in that neighborhood, right? And let's just say that's a big number, right? Let's just say we got 5 guys between 8.5 and 6. That's a more reasonable number, right? And let's just go with the number in the middle, 7. Let's just say all of them have 7 sacks. And 7 times 5 is 35. And then you're going to have a bunch of guys that are going to get you 3, 2.5, 2. And you look up and you're going to be at 52, 53, 55 and a half sacks on the season. That's what I think is going to ultimately happen. That's what I ultimately think is going to happen. You're going to be like at 56 sacks on the season, something of that ilk. So I truly believe that, like you said, sacks by committee, it's going to be on a whole nother level this year, a whole nother level, because we have so many guys, and this scheme lends itself to so many guys getting to the quarterback. So anyway, I digress. You guys have a good one. Take care, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Adios, a mañana. Peace.